Welcome to the Bakersfield City Council meeting. This television broadcast is brought to you by the local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 10 a.m., and the following Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can download the agenda for this meeting at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over this evening's meeting, the Honorable Mayor Karen K. Go.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to call to order the 5:15 regular City Council meeting of March 13th, 2024. Welcome to all of you Bakersfield College students in Professor Holmes' class. Welcome. We're always glad to have our students here. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Arias.
Here.
Councilmember Weir. Councilmember Smith.
I'm here.
Councilmember Freeman. Councilmember Gray. Councilmember Kaur.
Here. Thank you. We have the pleasure tonight of having Pastor Oscar Anthony of St. Peter Restoration Community Christian Ministries to offer the invocation. I'm just so grateful, Pastor, for your church's involvement in so many of our activities. I see outreach in Southeast Bakersfield, and thank you very much for that. And then following the invocation, Fernanda Canedo, who's a senior at Ridgeview High School, will lead us in the pledge. Over the past 2 years, she's dedicated herself to the sport of wrestling. She's achieved notable success, winning the Valley and Masters level championships. She's the first wrestler at Ridgeview to reach the state finals, finishing second in the state of California. Congratulations to you for that. And plans to pursue a collegiate wrestling career in, major, I guess, first, in William Jewell College Division II School in Missouri. And I'm so glad that her mother, Dora Morales, is able to join us tonight. So, Pastor, would you please come, and then you can follow right after he finishes. Would you please stand?
Father, we come before you in this very serious and important gathering to invoke your name, to call on your name. We are reminded that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, everything and everyone belong to you. We are also reminded that if God doesn't build a house, those that labor in vain. If God does not watch the city, those do not keep the city, those who watch in vain. We call upon you. We're reminded to pray for all leaders everywhere. And tonight we come to ask your blessings upon our mayor, the city council, every department head, every staff member that serve this city and this county and this state. We thank you for the privilege of the freedom of speech and the freedom to disagree. We ask that you give us harmony and peace to disagree, but disagree agreeably. We ask for your protection, for your wisdom for this council. Give them clarity, give them unity as they serve this whole community, both rich and the poor, regardless of political position or cultural background. We ask your blessings tonight. Give them peace, give them wisdom, give them clarity, and continue to bless our city. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Pastor. And Fernanda, thank you so much. Congratulations on your achievements. You're free to leave now. You're welcome to stay, but if you need to go home and study, you're welcome to do that too.
Mayor, if I may,
Just as a fellow Ridgeview alum, Fernanda, I just wanted to congratulate you. Really proud of you, and as a former Wolfpack member, super proud that you're carrying our high school and our Ward 7 and our city to new heights and great pride. So, super proud of you. Congratulations.
Here are a few guidelines to help our meeting run smoothly. We request that you turn off your phones. Please be courteous in the use of cameras and videos. For safety reasons and as a courtesy to others, no signs are allowed in the council chamber or in the lobby. Applause is allowed during the presentations portion of the meeting, but not during other portions of the meeting. Everyone in attendance is expected to adhere to the rules of decorum established by resolution of the City Council. Failure to abide by the city's rules of decorum, including any disruptive behavior that interferes with our ability to have an orderly and efficient meeting, prevents the City Council from conducting the business of the city. Consider this a first warning to everyone in attendance that conduct that disrupts this meeting may result in expulsion and/or the chamber being cleared. Behavior that disrupts the meeting includes repetitive statements, shouting, interrupting staff or presenters during the meeting, speaking out of turn, outbursts from the audience, and surpassing the 2-minute time limit. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public statements.
In keeping with the Council's new resolution, public statements are now received at different times depending on the item. I will call on the City Clerk to call for public statements at the appropriate time, so please listen carefully for the correct time to speak. If you wish to make a public statement, please fill out a public speaker card and give your card to the City Clerk. We ask that you mark whether you're here to speak on an item listed on tonight's agenda or in a matter not on the agenda. Speakers who do not identify a specific agenda item will be presumed speakers for non-agenda public statements. If you're here to speak on an item not listed on the meeting agenda, you will be called to speak first. Statements are given a 2-minute time limit per speaker. 20 minutes total for non-agenda item public statements. If you're here to speak on an item listed on the agenda, I will call for you at a later time, so please listen carefully. If public statements become disruptive and I have to clear the chambers to regain order of the meeting, you will be called in one at a time to provide your public statement when your item is called. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items not on the agenda?
America, we've received 16 public speaker cards for items not listed on tonight's agenda. The first public speaker is Ray Scott, followed by Sophia Felix, followed by Manny Ramirez.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff. Ray Scott, Keep Bakersfield Beautiful. And once again, it is always a privilege to talk to you about the beautiful things of Bakersfield and what your community, our community, does. This upcoming month in April, which is Earth Month, of course, Keep Bakersfield Beautiful has its Great American Cleanup. But along with that, we also have the Mayor's High School Challenge, which we encourage, reach out to high school students to form their own groups. And so the groups that have the largest amount of students also receive a cash award, first through third place. And then second, we have a new drive-through recycling drop-off event on April the 20th at the Bakersfield Recycling Services on L Street. It's a free drive-through event for all residents here in Bakersfield.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Sophia Felix. I am the current 2024 chairperson for Keep Bakersfield Beautiful. I would like to invite you, community members and community officials, to join us in our different and various activities we have going throughout the year. Keep Bakersfield Beautiful, sorry. Oh, goodness, sorry. I'd like to thank you all for helping us to continue our efforts in reducing litter, recycling more, and adding a beautiful community to our city with gardens, trees, flowers, murals over the past 24 years. Without all of you and all of your help, we would not be able to stand here tonight. I would like to also invite you to some of our upcoming activities that we have coming up. This Saturday, March 16th, we are having a litter cleanup with the Vice Mayor, Andre Gonzalez, and KBB appointee, Zachariah Garcia. On April 19th, we have our Greenfield Walking Group doing a community cleanup with Clean California in our community days. And on April 27th, we are having our main event with the Honorable Mayor Go with our Great American Cleanup, where we'll have over 2,000 volunteers doing litter cleanups, community garden, and more murals here in town. So if you'd like any more information about our volunteers and community activities, you can please call us at 661-326-3539. Now I'd like to introduce our 2024 Great American Cleanup Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Felix. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Manuel Ramirez, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So as this year's chairperson for the Great American Cleanup, do want to invite you and the public out to join us April 27th. The cleanups are going to be going from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. with a community celebration at Yokitz Park from 10 to 1 p.m. We are taking volunteers. If you like volunteer information, you go on the Great American Cleanup City website and contact through there or sign up one of the various community groups. We also want to thank Solid Waste for all their support for the Great American Cleanup. And if I left anything up, please let me know. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and keep Bakersfield beautiful. Volunteers, thank you so much for your service. We appreciate it. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Samer Abu Daga, followed by Kassan Kanafani, followed by Lorena.
As they're coming up, just a reminder, just adjust the mic according to your height so that we can hear you, please. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Karen, here's what you said a couple days after October 7th.
I'm grateful for the deep bond between the United States and Israel. I stand resolutely with Israel.
And then, Andre, this is what you said 5 months later, after 30,000 Palestinians have been killed.
We don't have time to deal with foreign policy stuff that we have zero influence over. I would encourage any of the protesters who have concerns to reach out to their representative in Congress.
So which is it? Do you have time for foreign policy when you say that you stand resolutely with Israel? Or are you saying that you don't have time for foreign policy just so that you can justify ignoring our demands for more than 10 weeks? Your hypocrisy is blatant and obvious. So I will ask again from everyone in this room, including every single one of you, and just so that I'm very clear, raise your hand if you condemn the murder of Palestinian men, women, and children. Eric?
Mr.
Are you going to raise your hand? I'm not talking to you yet.
This is a reminder to the audience.
I'm not talking to you yet. Reclaiming my time. Are you going to raise your hand? No? Okay.
The
Ken?
council does not engage with raising of
Reclaiming my
hands
time.
on any topic.
Bob, are you going to condemn the murder of Palestinian men, women, and children? We know where you stand. Andre? Yeah? Yeah, of course. You're going to stare blankly, or you're going to give us a response? Because you realize by staying silent, you're telling everyone in this room that you're absolutely fine with the murder of Palestinian families. Manpreet, you not only raised your hand, but you told us directly on multiple occasions that you stand against genocide.
Sir,
I'm saying it again.
your time is up. Please
We are done
bring
with
your
words.
comments to a close.
We need action now. Introduce the resolution this community has submitted,
Sir,
or
your
it's no
time is up.
justice,
Please bring your
no
comments to a
peace.
close. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kassan Kanafani, followed by Lorena, followed by Maria Quinteros.
Welcome.
Karen Go, did you enjoy your play last Friday? I noticed that you weren't in the reception area for very long because it seemed that as soon as a few of us showed up, you scurried inside. Is this because you feel ashamed? Do you feel shame for the fact that you have yet to call for a ceasefire? Do you feel shame for the fact that you have yet to condemn the genocide of my people? Do you feel shame for the fact that you have yet to issue even a single word of support or sympathy for your Palestinian population here in Bakersfield? Were you ashamed when you had 6 cops have to come and pick up your car outside because you were too afraid to show your face and come outside, where you instead scurried out the back exit like a rat? I'm embarrassed for you, frankly. I did some digging, and I wish I could say I was surprised by what I found, but frankly, I'm not. But it seems that blind and rabid support for Israel runs in your family, because your brother David, founder and senior pastor of the Gardens Church here in Bakersfield, on October 7th, posted on their Facebook, "Pray for Israel," and with some images. And yet these images were not of Israel. These images were of death and destruction in Palestine and in Gaza, and the slaughter of my people. Yet here they were misconstrued as "Pray for Israel." And this is something that happens all the time, where our suffering, when it's portrayed as suffering of Israelis, people are angry, people are upset, people are sympathetic. And yet the second they find out that it's actually of Palestinians, radio silence. So you keep doing what you're doing, but I'd like you to pass on a message to David, and it's a message that we repeat here to you again. Expect us wherever you go. And to all the students here, go back to your classes and talk about the mayor that you have here, the shameful disgrace, whose sympathies seem reserved for only a certain race of people, who believes that Palestinian blood is cheap. And after 4 city council meetings, has yet to issue a single word of sympathy for over nearly 40,000 slaughtered Palestinians. This is for you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Lorena, followed by Maria Quinteros, followed by Karina.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Karen. This is now my 4th time coming here, and I don't know whether you're sick of seeing me, but I'm definitely sick of seeing you guys here. And the only thing that we need is to be out of your hair, to get on with maybe actually being part of the community, raising funds for what we need here, instead of throwing it away to what? To play valet for you, for the police, to do your dirty work, for you to ignore us every single time we try to confront you. Even just today, just right now, you came up and you took pictures with some of the audience members here, even when you say you can't engage with the audience members. And when we asked if we could have a picture, you completely ignored us, as if you can't hear us. We know you can. We know all of you can hear us. Eric, I've even seen you peeping on my Instagram stories, and yet you don't say anything. Like, this is every one of your guys' responsibility here, to speak up for your constituents, and that's all of us as well. I don't know what it is, if you're intimidated by scarves, a piece of clothing, or if you're intimidated by your own conscience. Because you know that if you were to actually look in and see what you're standing for, then you would see ugliness. You would see a part of this machine that has created a monster that is decimating so many, and you can't pretend to ignore it. Because at this point, with all of us coming and bringing it up to your attention, with everything that's in the media, all the news, you can't say that you're ignoring it. So at this point, if you're not saying anything about it, it's entirely because of the person that you are. So I want you guys to sit with that, think about it, and demand a ceasefire, because you know that it's the right thing, whether you want to admit it or not.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Maria Quinteros, followed by Karina, followed by Omar.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, this is the 4th time that we show up to City Council without any acknowledgement, without any empathy for the 40,000 precious lives that have been murdered in Gaza. People in this room are some of the kindest people that I know, and they have family members being slaughtered and forcibly starved. We have come to say no more to anything that stands in the way of ending this genocide. I'm speaking to the Christians in this room now. Jesus, the Palestinian Jewish revolutionary, stood in fierce opposition to inequity, overturning tables, systems, structures, and leaders that stood in the way of liberation for all people. Throughout the biblical canon, Jesus reserves his sharpest critique for local elites, teachers of the law, and moral and religious authorities.
These people refuse to show mercy to the vulnerable. He gave warning, saying they love their places of honor at banquets. They're like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but inside they are full of bones, and they are dead and everything unclean. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. 40,000 precious lives have been murdered. Please do not stay silent. When you read the scriptures, do not think that you have the right to put yourself as the innocent one in the story. In Matthew 25, Jesus declares that he's going to separate sheep and goats, and those who do not do justice and mercy for their neighbors, he will say, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink." He will reply, "Whatever you did not do for the least of these, you did not do unto me." A ceasefire is the least thing that
Ms.
you can
Quintero,
do. There is still
your time
time
is up.
for your heart to change. There is still time to come awake. Palestinian lives are holy, and they are worth protecting.
Thank you, Mr. Quinteros. And just a reminder to the audience, clapping and snapping disrupts the meeting. Next speaker, please.
Karina, followed by Omar, followed by Gabby.
Hello,
Welcome. Please
audience,
introduce
not the
yourself.
council. My name is Karina. Today I saw a Palestinian child climb an electric pole to receive his kite, even though others offered to make him a new one. He still climbed to get it down. To others, it might seem like a silly kite, but as a mother and a person who saw others growing up in trauma, and being a child myself, feeling helpless to help them, that is not silly. When you have experienced trauma after trauma, you hold on to small glimpses of happiness. You see, it isn't just a kite. It is the last hope of joy, the very thing still holding your sanity in place. Losing the kite would make the weight of the world around you a reality, and having to accept the fact that indeed I am in a hellhole. I cannot escape. But at the same time, I don't want to escape. I don't want to leave. This is my home. Raise your hand if you stand with Palestinians and for humanity. I see the council is still cowards. To the people standing for freedom, I read you a message from Karam Masjid. Great gratitude flows from the depths of our struggles to those who champion our cause. Every day as we face uphill battles, your voices become a balm to our shattered dreams and bruised hearts. In the face of mental weathering, by the weight of our challenges, your unwavering dedication gives us the strength. Thank you for sharing our stories and casting a light on our silent suffering. Your voices, like lifelines, echo our pleas for help, ensuring our struggles are not overlooked in a world that turns a blind eye, just like the council has turned a blind eye week after week. And I'm speaking to all of you now. You are constantly chasing the evil dollar to fill the pits of your empty souls because you have no souls. You and your colleagues have heard multiple people describe the horrors that are happening in Gaza, and yet the decision has not wavered. You have not called for a ceasefire. Will today be that day that you regain some of your consciousness and try to obtain what is left of your morality
Karina, your time
to
is
make
up.
history
Please
and
bring your
calling for a
comments to a
ceasefire?
close.
Or will you continue to be complicit in a genocide? I know, Karen, I know that you're not going to call
Karina?
for a genocide because you support and you look up to people like Ronald Reagan who supported
Karina, your
apartheid.
time is up. Please bring your comments to a close.
You support the CARE Act that
Karina?
criminalizes unhoused people.
Your
because
time
you want
is
more
up.
slaves for this system.
Next speaker, please.
Omar, followed by Gabby, followed by Leslie.
We're here to listen. Just a reminder, you each have 2 minutes, and we will be respectful and listen to you. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Omar Samara. I'm a resident of Ward 3. Today, I am fasting for Ramadan. And in this blessed month, we take 2 of many lessons. Number 1, patience through hardship. Number 2, the pains of hunger. And in Gaza, for over 5 months, people have been under siege, and it's been harder and harder every day for them to get food. And every day over the last few weeks, we've seen an increase, more and more and more children, the elderly, and people dying of starvation. Their skin clinging to their body. You can see the outlines of their bones. They are like skeletons with flesh. It is horrible, and it is disgusting. And for me, as somebody who works in agriculture, who learned about farming and learned how to help grow food in Bakersfield, here in Kern County, to avoid this sort of pain, I am in pain, and I am in shock that people here that claim to represent Californian agriculture would allow for an artificial starvation to occur. It may seem like a little bit, it may seem like nothing to say, calling for a ceasefire. There is not much we can do as individuals, but together we can move mountains. We have a moral imperative to join the growing collection of voices calling for peace and calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. So I implore you, especially you, Ken Weir, my representative of Ward 3, and you, Mayor Go, my representative of Bakersfield, to call for a ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. Next speaker, please.
Gabby, followed by Leslie, followed by Amelia Martinez.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Gabby. I'm a resident of Andre Gonzalez. Hi, Andre. Hey, thanks for the smile. Wow, that's cool. So, Eric, Ken, Bob, Karen, Andre, if you could still listen to me, I'd appreciate it. Manpreet, Karen. I come before you today not just as a concerned citizen, but as a witness to the silence that pervades in the face, the silence that pervades in the face of immense suffering, the silence that allows oppression to thrive, that allows the systems of injustice to govern unchecked. The crisis in Gaza is not just a distant tragedy. It is a stark reminder of our collective complicity, our collective silence that perpetuates these cycles of violence and suffering. As the conflict, violence, massacre, artificial famine, ethnic cleansing, genocide continues and approaches the 159th day, the toll on innocent lives continues to mount. Tens of thousands have been killed, many of them children. As the world watches, you all watch silently. The United Nations called for a ceasefire, emphasizing the urgent need to end the appalling suffering and loss of life, yet your silence persists. Let us not forget silence is not neutrality, it is complicity. We cannot turn a blind eye to the karmic consequences of our inaction. The silence of the city council, the silence of so many people across the world only serves to perpetuate the very systems that oppress us. If we do not act now, if we don't break these cycles, we're going to repeat it.
Time is
the
up. Please
positions of
bring your
power, the
comments
power
to a
balances
close.
always change. Therefore, I implore you, those who have currently the influence and power, rise, members of the city council, rise above the silence, break the chains
Gabby,
of these
your time is up.
complicity,
Please
and
bring your
introduce
comments
and
to a
pass a
close.
ceasefire immediately for Gaza. Allow humanitarian aid. Stop sending money to Israel.
Bring your
Let
comments
us
to a
use
close
the call
right now.
of our
You have
conscience.
exceeded your time.
Let us stand on the right side of history, and let us work towards healing the collective wounds of humanity.
Gabby,
Thank you.
thank you. Next speaker, please.
Leslie, followed by Amelia.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Leslie. I am, my council member isn't even here, Patty Gray. So thanks, Patty. Everyone here, especially to the students at Bakersfield College, These are your city council members. This is our 4th time coming, and they continue to just stare at us with their blank faces time after time after time. Karen, on Friday, you were at your play, and you used the police force as your personal security to go get your car because you couldn't even face the people of Bakersfield to call for a ceasefire. You literally used your personal little security team that terrorizes and murders our community as your personal security because you were too afraid to come out and at least engage. And you keep saying, oh yeah, engage with us, keep coming. We want to better the city, but yet you continue to silence us and continue to turn a blind eye to a literal genocide, and you use BPD as your personal security, which our taxpayers pay to, but that's your priority, to keep funding a police force that terrorizes us and that victimizes us with a sales tax of Measure N. You can look it up. 42% of that sales tax goes to funding this police force that you use to escape your own constituents. That's so sad, Karen. Grow a backbone. Grow a backbone. Call for a ceasefire. Each and every single one of you, call for a ceasefire. There is a literal genocide. I don't want to keep coming every week or every 2 weeks. I'm tired. I'm really tired of seeing people die. And I leave you with this. Just as my colleague was saying earlier, Matthew 19:24. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a person in power, yourself, look in the mirror, to enter the kingdom of God.
Thank you, Leslie. Audience, just a reminder that clapping and snapping is not allowed. Next speaker, please.
Amelia Martinez.
Amelia Martinez. Go ahead and go to the next person.
Mr. Jones.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
I think it's incredibly fitting that, again, I don't get my full 2 minutes. My name is Gabriel Jones, resident of Bakersfield. I didn't actually write anything this time because figured I wouldn't get the time, So yeah, I just sat here before the meeting and I prayed to be like, what do you think? God, what would you have for these people? And it's crazy ironic because what came to my heart was Matthew 25. You already heard it, but I'll run through it again for you guys. And really, any Christians here, please look up Matthew 25 when you come home. Seriously. And then he will say to those on the left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For when I was hungry, you gave me nothing to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me nothing to drink. When I was a stranger to you, and you did not invite me into your home. When I needed clothes, you did not clothe me. And when I was sick and in prison, you did not look after me. They will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry? When did we see you thirsty? When did we see you in prison? When did we see you need clothes? And he said, truly, I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. 40,000 people have died, Karen. Whatever you don't do for them, you will have to answer for. You will. And
thank you, Mr. Jones. Your time is up.
Call for a ceasefire.
Please bring your comments to a close. We are at the end of our 20-minute segment for this portion. Madam Clerk, we'll now move on to public statements listed on the agenda. If you're here to speak on items under consent calendar item 7, your time to speak is now. Again, each speaker is given a 2-minute time limit, and each agenda item is listed to 20. Each agenda item. There is no conversation like this at this point from the audience. And each agenda item is listed to 20 minutes total. You're disrupting the meeting. You're disrupting the meeting. I've already given you a warning. If that continues, I will have to ask for the police to escort you out. I'm going to start this section again. We will now move to the public statements listed on the agenda. If you're here to speak on items listed under consent calendar item 7, your time to speak is now. Again, each speaker is given a 2-minute time limit, and each agenda item is limited to 20 minutes total. The consent calendar as a whole constitutes one agenda item. If you're here to speak on hearing item 9A, now is not the time to speak. You'll be given an opportunity to speak when that item is called later in the meeting. Madam Clerk, sir, our time is up for that section. Madam Clerk, you're disrupting the meeting. Madam Clerk.
Mayor Go, we've received one speaker card for items on tonight's agenda. The public speaker is Emma De La Rosa regarding item 7C1.
Ms. De La Rosa. Emma De La Rosa. I don't see her in the audience, so now, Vice Mayor.
Does any member of the council wish to recuse themselves from any item? Seeing none, I have a request to pull item 7C1 for separate consideration, and with that, I'll make a motion to adopt all the other consent calendar items.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman and Councilmember Gray absent.
Thank you. And now, Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. After many conversations and deliberations with staff and also the building community, specifically on this item tonight, but also on the previously proposed item that includes the parking requirements, at the last meeting, we did talk about the need for a baseline requirement that protects us and allows for us to hold some of the bad developers accountable while also getting out of the way for the 95% of our good developers who are building in the city. So,
Councilmember Arias, would you just stop for a minute? Outbursts from the audience are disruptive to this meeting. If you continue, you will be asked to leave. Councilmember?
Ceasefire now!
That is, you are disrupting the meeting. You're disrupting the meeting by your cut. Officers, please clear the chambers. Reconvening at 6:03. Councilmember Arias, continue.
thank you, Mayor. Just to reiterate some of the comments before we went on recess. I know that I've met with staff a number of times, had many conversations about this very item. And also, in addition to what's on our agenda tonight, we've also talked about the previously presented parking requirements as proposed by staff at the last meeting. I've also engaged many of the stakeholders who came before this very council and talked about the need for additional time, the need for additional vetting, and to be frank, I don't want to piecemeal this. I think it's important that we take a holistic and comprehensive approach, and in the name of transparency, I think that we really need to look at this very document, the changes to Title 17, in addition with those parking requirements. But in addition to that, I want to reiterate the fact that I agree with my colleagues. 95 to 99% of our developers in the community know what's best for the very projects that they're putting forward. But for reasons, for various reasons, there could potentially be a developer who either is not in the know, is maybe new to the field, who maybe might take advantage and manipulate the fact that we do not have a baseline regulation to hold them accountable when it comes to parking standards. So with that, tonight I would like to make a motion to bring back this item to the March 27th City Council meeting. And in addition to that, I would like to make a referral that we also include the previously proposed parking regulations with the following amendments. And bear with me because there's 5 pieces to this. The first being that we eliminate minimum parking standards for single-family residential development. The second be that we eliminate minimum parking standards for deed-restricted affordable housing projects. The third being that we eliminate minimum parking standards for all residential development in the Central District and Old Town Kern. The fourth be that we eliminate minimum parking standards for multifamily residential development with 19 or less dwelling units, but we require that for multifamily residential developments with 20 or more dwelling units to allocate a minimum of 0.25 parking spaces per unit. 0.25 parking spaces is a very, very low requirement compared to what we have previously had on our books. I do feel confident that this stays out of the way for many of our developers, particular developers who are trying to build additional housing, of which we need all different types and sorts. But it also provides that baseline so that we can hold those folks accountable. And actually, I would like to make one tweak to that motion, that we also add an opportunity for a developer who is developing a multifamily development above 20 units or more to also have the ability to appeal to the Planning Commission and ultimately this body should there be particular circumstances that need to be communicated so that they do not necessarily need to adhere to these restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any requests to speak. Is that a motion? You have a motion. Please cast your votes. Go ahead and read it again, please.
Happy to do that. So the first part is to bring back this very item at the next meeting. But in addition to that, to also bring back.
Bringing it back.
Correct.
So the motion is to bring it back
With the additional parking restrictions or the elimination of parking restrictions as proposed by staff previously, but to add those additional amendments that I made tonight. I'm happy to read those if you'd like me to.
Mayor, if I could, just for clarity purposes, so the council understands that on your agenda tonight is the second reading or the adoption of the housing element. And my understanding that Councilmember Arias has a 2-pronged motion. One is to continue the second reading, so that second reading is going to be brought back at the next meeting, which will be March 27th. And then the second component of Councilmember Arias's motion is what he elaborated on with the referral on the various parking components. So that will go for first reading on March 27th. It will be a proposed second reading of the housing element. And again, depending on what happens on March 27th, my guess is that you will see everything then move to the first meeting in April and have second reading of everything. But there will be time to discuss the specificity of the parking elements at first reading.
Councilmember Weir, does that clarify it for you?
So we will be talking about the parking regulations at
The next meeting, the March 27th
March
meeting.
27th?
Correct. And as long as they are, again, within the parameters of what Councilmember Arias has referred, we can go ahead and have first reading on March 27th. But if they are more restrictive, if the council ultimately ends up with more restrictive components on March 27th, then my recommendation to you at that time is going to be that you'll have to have first reading the first meeting in April. If you stay within these boundaries, we're okay for first reading on March 27th.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
You just voted.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Weir abstaining and Councilmembers Freeman and Gray absent.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Hearings.
Our next item is public hearings. Each side will be allowed 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes for all speakers per side, so it's important that you identify yourself, make your statement succinctly so others may speak. We'll hear statements from those opposed to the staff's recommendation first, that is, those that are against the resolution ordering to vacate an easement on a portion of O Street. Then we'll hear from those who'd like to speak in favor of the staff's recommendation, those that support the resolution ordering to vacate an easement on a portion of O Street. If there's testimony on both sides, each side will be allowed a 5-minute rebuttal. There's a clock on the TV screens behind me which indicates 15 minutes. Please step to the microphone, identify yourself. And after 14 minutes, a yellow light will come on. At the end of 15 minutes, a red light will flash, indicating your time is up. Quickly end your statement. You may ask questions during your statement, but they won't be addressed until the public hearing is closed. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, give them to the clerk. She will provide copies to the council. Please be courteous to others who wish to speak. Madam Clerk, please read the public hearing item.
Public hearing to consider a resolution ordering to vacate an easement on a portion of O Street. The 11.25-foot wide easement is located on the west side of O Street and east side of Jewetta Avenue, abutting 4023 O Street, Ward 3.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I will turn the time over to our Public Works Director, Greg Strakalus.
Thank you, City Manager Clegg. Mayor, City Council, I do have a brief presentation on this item. If you would like to see that, I'll go really quickly through it. This is a partial right-of-way vacation at 4023 O Street. The image above on the screen shows the subject property abutting both Jewett and O Street. Public rights-of-way provide for many public uses. The right-of-way is created as communities are planned and streets are platted for connectivity and utilities. A vacation of right-of-way transfers all or a portion of public rights over to the adjacent landowner. Decisions to vacate right-of-way depend on a variety of factors such as urban planning goals, community needs, and potential impacts to public services. Process to vacate is a rigorous and comprehensive one involving city departments, numerous utility companies, the Planning Commission, and of course the public. It also must abide by California State Code section for streets and highway. A petition to vacate concludes with City Council determination by resolution to vacate or not the defined area of public right-of-way. Portions of Jewett and O Street have an existing right-of-way of 82.5 feet, which is about 22.5 feet larger than our current standard. Our current standard provides for travel lanes, pathways, bike lanes, and also utilities at 60 feet wide. The picture on the right is a picture of the parcel in question. The utilities are located within the public right-of-way. On the picture to the right, the vacation would take it to the fence post just behind the fire hydrant, and there is a 10-foot easement requirement to be preserved from that fence post back to the utility pole. So there's 1.25 foot that would be a transfer of without any encumbrances over it to the property owner. City has been vacating portions or strips of Jewett and O Street for many years, since 1968. So there is precedence for this vacation. After issuing proper notice, the department found that there were no objections from other city departments, no objections from utility providers, provided that a 10-foot public utility easement would be preserved on the eastern and westernmost portions closest to the roadway. And after public noticing, there have been no objections from property owners within a 300-foot radius of the site. The Planning Commission has seen this petition and has approved it in terms of consistency with the comprehensive plan on December 19, 2023. And a resolution of intention for this vacation hearing was brought before council on February 28th. And here we are today to determine whether this vacation moves forward. So conclusions and recommendations: the vacation process as provided within the California Streets and Highway Code section has been followed for this petition. Public Works Department received 0 objections to the vacation, provided that a 10-foot public utility easement is maintained. And the Planning Commission has determined that the petition is consistent with the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan. Staff does recommend adoption of the attached resolution and approval of the vacation. Stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Strykalous. City Manager Clegg, is there anything further?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, item 9A is open. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? If there's anybody in the lobby, I see that Assistant City Manager has gone out to check whether anybody is in the lobby who would like to speak in opposition. Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak in support or in favor? Thank you, indicates none. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and return it to council for comment and action. And I know that this is in Councilmember Weir's ward. Councilmember Weir.
Thank you, Mayor. So basically, this puts this piece of property in line with the other properties that are next to it, and it brings some I can't think of the word. It puts them in line.
Yes. It does. There is long history of vacations occurring along these two streets, and the vacations have been consistent in terms of 11.25 feet on either side of the street. The properties to the north and the south haven't yet petitioned for vacation, but if you move further south, you start to see those vacations that have occurred.
So this is not abnormal. It happens frequently.
Along these two streets, yes.
And
vacations as a general category, though, do not happen frequently.
Yeah. But this will put it, no,
If I may offer,
yes,
consistent with other properties.
Consistent with the other properties, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I move approval.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to comment? You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Freeman and Councilmember Gray absent.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Council and Mayor statements.
I don't see any request to speak. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make a referral tonight. Well, first, let me give some praise and kudos to both the City of Bakersfield and to Caltrans. Coming into town a few days ago, driving northbound, Ward 7 on the 99 is looking pretty good, Councilmember Core. Hoskins looks pretty good. Panama's looking better and better. But then we start getting into central Bakersfield and we start observing some issues there. So I want us to continue to work towards some landscaping improvements in that 99 corridor. I know that staff has been working on that, and I trust that we're getting closer to a longer-term plan and strategy. But part of this includes also the delegated maintenance agreement with Caltrans between the City of Bakersfield and the state agency. And so I understand we do have a current delegated maintenance agreement that allows for the City of Bakersfield to maintain certain elements. But I'd like us to explore how we can enhance that maintenance agreement so that we can really ensure that the look and feel of our 99 corridor, 58, now with the Centennial corridor connecting, that we're looking really good for our residents to enjoy, and certainly looking good for our visitors as well. So elements including weed abatement, graffiti removal, debris and litter as it relates to encampments, all of those elements I think are really critical that we have a very clear maintenance agreement that allows the city to proactively address issues when they occur. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. I don't see any. Oh, Councilmember Arias. Oh, yours isn't. It's not up. Try again. It's up now.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Arias.
Tonight, I'm so grateful to the Vice Mayor for reminding me of two things that I wanted to bring up. One of them being when it comes to the 99 freeway and some of the changes we're making into landscaping, I just wanted to ask staff if they knew what size trees we are installing currently, and whether or not that is us that is doing that. Is that Caltrans that is making those installations?
Thank you, Councilmember and Mayor and Council. Right now, the installations you're seeing are happening by Caltrans. I would take the opportunity just to note that we have requested several times for enhanced landscaping or hardscaping along the 99. Caltrans Region 6 has found some dollars to do that, although the city has also contributed significant funding for design and infrastructure improvements on the 99 above and beyond what Caltrans sort of can afford or is able to do. And I think realistically for us to really increase the look and feel along the 99, even though it's not our jurisdiction, it's likely going to have to come from either city efforts or funds or partnerships where we go and get grant funding. I don't know about the size of the trees. We can get you that information. But right now, that's Caltrans and putting those in.
Thank you so much. I realize the question is very, very specific. But the reason being is that the interchange looks great. But I have serious concerns about the small size of those trees. We know that because of the homelessness challenges, because there are folks who tend to meander into those areas, we planted trees in parks next to schools, and we know that those trees oftentimes are usually vandalized in some way, shape, or form. And I know that the hardiness and the ability to survive some of that depends on really how old the tree is that we install. So I would like to ask for staff to have a conversation with Caltrans if there's a way for us to negotiate for older trees that are going to frankly survive a whole lot longer, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. I think it would be wise of us to have those conversations early on while they're making those investments. The second comment that Vice Mayor made, I think, is a very good and pointed one, which is that I really think that we need to continue to be proactive, particularly on some of our empty infill lots. I am still a huge fan of us going to contract. There are partnering organizations out there, nonprofits, that do weed abatement, litter abatement, tumbleweed abatement throughout our entire city. And I think it's time that we, while we work as hard as we can on trying to increase the amount and supply of affordable housing, particularly as it relates to infill development, we have to do our due diligence to make sure that there is a decent look and feel on some of these properties. And so I am in huge favor of that, and I ask that staff take a look into that opportunity as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Speaking of trees, thank you to the volunteers that planted 33 trees this Arbor Day at Yokitz Park. And the trees are more mature than they used to plant before for the reason that you described. Councilmember Weir.
Thank you, Mayor. One question about the Garza Circle and Caltrans work on the Garza Circle. Is that ever going to come to fruition?
Councilmember Weir, appreciate the question, Mayor and Council. It will, in fact, although it has been long awaited. I can give you an update that the city just received back bids for our portion of the project, and we will be bringing forward a council item to award a contract to go and build the improvements, the traffic and multimodal improvements to Garza Circle, as well as there's a few components that are still city jurisdiction adjacent to Garza Circle. But unless our Public Works Director has updates on the timing for the portions under the overpass from Caltrans, we'll have to get that timing update for you.
And I don't have a specific update. I can say that there are deadlines associated with getting underway for work. And so we've been neck and neck with Caltrans to get to construction. I know they're close by, though. We will be at council this next meeting on the 27th on, to award the contract for city's portion of improvements.
And their portion is going to follow?
It should follow closely behind us. We are ahead of them in terms of getting the approval from council. They will get their approval from their district to move forward, and they haven't gotten that yet.
Okay, so a couple months, a month?
I will check.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Weir. Councilmember Corr.
Thank you, Mayor. Looks like the memo we're sending to Caltrans is going to be pretty long, but the Vice Mayor's and Councilmember Arias' comments reminded me that I was driving to the council meeting today and was just thinking about how I'd really like us as a city to engage both Caltrans and the Auto Mall, and kind of thinking about that corridor and how we can improve just the look and feel as we're driving through our city. It's such an important part of our city. It's frankly right off of the freeway, and if there's ideas or if there's more thought that can be put into even that corridor, while some of Ward 7 is definitely looking prettier, so all kudos going to the city and Caltrans as well. I think there's some work to be done there, especially when those beautiful trees are taken out, and if there's something to be done about even the walls on the east side of the 99, you know, and any kind of improvements that can be done there. I think there's ways we can get creative. If that's a conversation, we can get started as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Corr. Vice Mayor.
My apologies. I had one more comment to add to this. We have a number of remnant signs from businesses of yesteryear that are still up throughout the city, particularly along the 99, the 58, the 204. And I think it's time that we kind of go through and have a plan where we systematically engage property owners to work with them to remove those signs, because it is starting to look pretty long in the tooth. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other requests to speak, so we stand adjourned at 6:28. Thank you.